Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 9, I think, of Coffee Chats. It's been ages since I filmed an episode because of uni and just everything. It's just really hard to fit it in. But today I am here with Charlotte Emily Price, who is a YouTuber and an Instagrammer. And we're just going to be talking to her about uni, about YouTube, and about her consistency brand that she started recently. So yeah, to start off with, what are 3 fun facts about you?
I don't know if they're fun, but I guess just something a bit different. So maybe I ended up studying forensic science at uni, but literally 1 month before I applied for uni, I was actually going to be doing dance and musical theatre. So I had like such a massive like career change within the space of like weeks. So I guess that's something quite fun and probably something people wouldn't expect if they saw me studying science at uni. Maybe that I got stung by a jellyfish last year. That's quite a fun fact. And I know the Afrikaans of Lion King, like the actual Afrikaans language of the song. Just something fun.
Okay, what has been the highlight of your week?
I've actually not done much this week, so maybe just walking my dog, getting some fresh air. That's like the highlight of my week, I'd say.
There's not really much that we can do.
Yeah, no.
Like literally the highlight of my week is probably like actually being able to do my uni work and getting on with it.
Yeah.
Okay, and because this podcast is called Coffee Chats, I always ask everyone what their coffee order is. So
Right, so if I usually go cold no matter what the season, so I'd go iced latte with vanilla or caramel syrup and oat milk, or I would probably go cappuccino with oat milk. I quite like a cappuccino with oat milk as well, hot wise.
Okay, and so just like a brief summary of what you do, so your YouTube channel and everything like that.
So I first started social media writing a blog, which has sort of died a death this year, and I've sort of been focusing more on YouTube and Instagram. I do YouTube videos are sort of like surrounding graduate life now, but they were very like student based. I do sort of fashion stuff on there, hauls and styling stuff for like mid-size bodies, and just sort of a little bit of everything on my YouTube channel, a couple of challenges here and there. And then on my Instagram I focus more on my fashion and also like projecting a lot of like body acceptance, body confidence posts, and yeah, sort of hoping to like empower and inspire other women out there that might not be completely comfortable with their body image. And then now this year I brought out a social media brand with my best friend Carrie, and we run Consistency, which is a social media growth business. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to come on to talk about all your YouTube stuff properly later, but to start off with, we're going to have like a bit of a chat about uni. So you've already said you studied forensic science. So what was your experience like studying forensic science?
I absolutely loved it. I used to hate science when I first started school, and then when it sort of got into the like GCSE A-level part of school, I just really enjoyed revising and like studying it. So I was like, oh, this would be a good option for like the future. And I was obviously going into dance, but then I just decided like I really just liked science. So I was looking for courses, and forensics really like just stood out to me, and I just loved the whole course because there were so many different aspects. There was certain areas where we'd study bones and the aftermath of like death, and then we'd have completely the other side of things, so crime scene investigation, like attending a crime scene, robberies, burglaries, murders, a whole mix of stuff. And that's why I think I enjoyed my course so much, because there was so much variation and there was like nothing that would bore me to death too much. So yeah, I just really loved my course and I couldn't really fault it.
I do criminology, and it sounds kind of like a more like niche version.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, we had sort of like criminology elements, and we had like law, chemistry, physics, biology. Like it was sort of like just a bit of everything, which was quite nice.
That sounds good. So you were doing YouTube and social media whilst you were in uni. How did you manage to balance uni and social media and your social life? Because I can't. Like, I literally.
No, honestly, I was the worst. Like, I would just be doing uni work constantly, and in any sort of spare hour, because I just love social media so much, I've been doing it for ages, I just would like fit it in whenever I could. So as soon as I'd finish my work for the day, I'd just be editing, filming until I went to sleep. So I probably overworked myself quite a lot, and like burnout happened quite often when I was at uni, because I just sort of fit all my time doing that, and I probably didn't even socialize as much as probably most people do at uni. But yeah, I'd say I had to sort of balance my life a lot more, especially in third year when things were more serious. So uni became like a massive priority. But because I loved my like hobbies so much, and my, I guess, part-time job at the time, I just was putting in more hours. And yeah, I think it's just about making sure you have your priorities straight and fitting in the things you love around that, but making sure you do have that time, because otherwise you will get really overwhelmed with uni. And just make sure you have that time to relax as well.
Yeah, I always meant, especially like now I'm in second year, um, living with like my closest friends, it's really good to be able to like do your work and then just go down and like have your dinner with them or something.
Yeah, or even just like a coffee break, or some just something to sort of take your mind away. And just, so even if it is socializing in your own house, it is nice to have that sort of break from constantly doing either uni work or filming or whatever your hobby is. It's nice.
So you graduated this year, obviously
Hmm.
during COVID. What has that been like? Because obviously I'm still at uni and it is such a strange experience this year compared to last year, and like it's just completely different. But I feel like it must be awful for people who graduated during it as well.
Yeah, my brother is in the same situation as you. He's just gone into second year. And he's currently at home with us because he just didn't want, like, he went back for a while, but he's like come back for lockdown.
Yeah.
And it's so weird hearing everyone's experiences, because I think it is, no one's got it like worse off, because I think whether you're in first year, you're obviously having a very different experience to what I had as my first year. Second year, you're sort of in the middle of it all. Third year, they're like not sure what they're graduating into. And then now me as a graduate, I don't even know if I'm classed as a graduate because I haven't had my graduation. I just feel like a bit lost and strange. So I feel like everyone's got like some sort of weird end of the whole experience. And for me, I feel like quite lucky in a sense, but for like being able to like do what I do at the minute. But I guess I have been sort of like working quite hard like alongside my degree, so it sort of paid off in the end, because when I was sort of like kicked out of uni and COVID happened, I sort of had something to like clasp onto and like grip onto, whilst everyone else is struggling sort of trying to find jobs, which I know has been a massive struggle for a lot of my friends and a lot of people I know who have just finished uni. So yeah, it has been a struggle. I still felt a bit lost and strange throughout the whole thing, but luckily I've had social media to focus on and try and develop that into a career.
That's good. Yeah, because I feel like even if it wasn't for COVID, graduating would be so weird anyway,
Yeah,
let alone like with a pandemic.
yeah, it's crazy.
So you kind of already said that now you have graduated, you're focusing on social media and building that. Is that like basically what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I have consistency, which is with Carrie, and we're sort of doing that. That's like one of my main jobs. And then I run obviously my own social media. And because my platform sort of like took off, like especially Instagram during the first lockdown, I've been able to like sort of make a lot of my income from Instagram now. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the minute. I feel like after such a crappy year, it's been nice to like focus on that and not think too much about going into like a serious job straight away, which I quite like. And it's nice that I can sort of enjoy my time like doing my hobby as my career at the minute, and then I've got my degree to fall back on at any point if necessary.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we've sort of already said a bit about it, but how did you get started on YouTube and what has your YouTube journey been up to now?
So I started YouTube. Well, I've actually been making like little, like when there was like a phase of making music videos, and I've been sort of making videos on YouTube since it was probably first put out there. And then it would be like loads of strange channels that I made with like my friends and family, and they just got deleted. But when I first started taking it a bit more seriously and was less conscious of people like judging me at school, because I know that's quite a lot of why people do like hold back and not post videos, because they're scared of like their friends finding out or people at school finding out. And I started when I was in my first year of sixth form, so 2016 I think. So I've been doing it for just over 4 years, and it has been like quite a slow sort of like process, like building up like a following on YouTube. But I just love creating and editing videos so much that I don't really mind. um it's not like a massive focus for me, like followers wise. Like I just really enjoy it. So no matter like what follow account I'd be on, or subscribe account, I guess, I would still be making videos, I think, no matter what, because I really love it. And yeah, I don't know, I just really like YouTube, and it's been such a lovely journey, like finding other people in the community who also like making videos and go into like YouTube events that I've been able to meet some amazing people at. So yeah, it's been good.
I definitely think that being worried about what people at school think is a big thing when it comes to YouTube, because I can't remember how old I was when I first started uploading. It was like probably like 2014, 2013, when like Zoella and everyone were really big, and I was like, I want to be
Yeah. Yeah.
like at first I was like, oh, no one needs to know, like I'll just do it and like nobody will ever find out. And then eventually I was like, I'm gonna like post a video on Facebook and like
Yeah.
link, and then everyone at school was like, what is she doing? And it just like, I think if that happened now I wouldn't care, because
Yeah,
it's something I want to do anyway. But when you're like 15, you're like,
you care about what other people think way too much, don't you? Yeah. And I don't know, I think people are so scared of people being confident and doing their own thing, that if anyone does anything out of the normal, especially when you're younger, but even now, like I still have people that are like disliking my video seconds after it uploads, and it's just like obviously the same sort of people who don't really like people doing well. I don't know, it's just bizarre to me. I can't imagine being like that.
um okay, so you've said that during lockdown your Instagram sort of blew up, and on Instagram I feel like you focus a lot on sort of body positivity and mental health and things like that. So if you just want to say a bit about what you do on Instagram.
Yeah, so I again have been doing Instagram probably longer than YouTube, because I felt like it was a little bit more accepted, like just uploading. I uploaded little photos of my like nails on top of like floral bed sheets, or like little candles and baby lips, and you know, that phase. And then I started posting more like fashion as I grew up, because that's something that I just became really passionate about. Like I love styling outfits, and um over the past year and a half is when I sort of focused more on accepting my body and set a bit of self-confidence, and that sort of like blew up over the lockdown period, I think, because I guess people needed to hear it during that time where we were all sort of inside and focusing more on ourselves than probably what we were before, like going out and keeping our minds busy. But when you're like sat at home and you're like looking in the mirror probably more often than usual, and just sort of having a lot more time to think about yourself, is when people get into like really negative headspace. So yeah, I think maybe people just needed to hear that. And then I sort of like wanted to push my platform more, and seeing that my platform could help people, and sort of like spurred me on to create more of that content, and make like it just sort of became like a place to empower other women or anyone else who was struggling with body image. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like also it's just really nice to see an influencer who's being like honest and not just posting like really filtered photos. I definitely
Yeah.
those sort of accounts are becoming more like preferred over other sort
Yeah, for
of.
sure.
So I don't really, well, I have obviously my Instagram, but I don't really know how to describe it, but like I just literally post whatever I've been doing. So how
Yeah.
do you sort of go about making your Instagram feed and like sort of Instagram content creation?
So I think because it's like quite important to me, like I quite like enjoy going out and taking photos and sharing them, and making like my feed look cool. I usually batch shoot content, so I'll go out with like a friend or like my boyfriend, and they'll help me get like the content that like my usual like content that I post, like fashion wise. So I'll do it in like either one day or like during a trip, like 1 or 2 days, and then I'll have like photos to like keep me going whilst I can focus on other stuff like on other days, so like editing my YouTube videos and working on the consistency brand with Carrie. And that's sort of like interlinks a little bit, because we created consistency because we both have such a massive passion for social media and like creating a career out of social media, which is why we wanted to help other people, other women, like get involved in that and like create a career from social media. So we've got like our presets, which are like filters that aren't like distorting filters, if that makes sense. So they're just sort of like changing the tones and colors, so like your whole feed can become really cohesive, and that sort of like stems from our love for social media. So yeah, I think what I'd say my main thing with Instagram is that I batch shoot content and just filter it all the same, so they all like sort of look similar on my feed.
Yeah, I do think your feed is very cohesive, and I need to make mine more. So we've mentioned, so you speak quite a lot about like trolling and people like leaving you negative comments or negative DMs. So what is it like experiencing that all the time, and like how do you deal with it?
Yeah, so obviously like before my Instagram sort of took off in April, I would get like an odd bad comment here and there, like on YouTube, or like if a video went quite big on YouTube, like I'd get quite a lot and an influx, and it would like affect my mental health, but it would only be sort of like for a short period of time. But now having 80,000 on Instagram, it's just quite like a lot, because you get random people coming across your account that have no idea who you are and sort of just sort of like prejudging you and like writing horrible comments, or just there to be like trolls, and probably people that like I know in real life probably running these accounts. You know what I mean? You don't know who's behind these things, and yeah, it is quite a lot. And I think it's so important for me to speak about them, because I want people to remember that I am a human, and I don't know, I don't really know what warrants, like nothing warrants those comments on like anyone's post. So yeah, I just think it is important to talk about them. And yeah, it does affect me mentally. I'm still trying to like find coping mechanisms for them, but most of the time I do block certain words from being commented on my photos, or block certain accounts that are like repeatedly commenting horrible things.
Yeah, I think it is good to hear about, because obviously if you are a content creator, it probably happens on a bigger scale, but I feel like it can happen to anyone, even if it's just like someone from your school or someone that you know. So it's good to hear people speaking up about it. So the next thing is about working with brands. So you work with brands on Instagram and on your YouTube, and I know like I feel like a lot of people now have a good idea of how that sort of works, but for anyone that doesn't, how does it work, and sort of what do you do when you work with a brand?
So paid collaborations go through my agency, which I signed to last year. So they just got in contact with me because they'd seen some of my stuff, and they've just basically asked if I wanted to be signed. So I had to sign a contract, and like I'm part of their agency, and any paid brand work goes through them. So either the brand will contact them, or they will go out and contact brands that they think I'd be a good fit for. And then so my manager will message me a brand deal and would let me know like what they sort of thing they want and what their sort of campaign is, and they'll send over a brief maybe, and I'll have a read through, and if I think that is a good fit for my audience and something that I think represents me, or something that I think would be helpful to someone, I'll obviously approve it, and then they'll send over more information, and they'll just sort of like give me a brief of what they sort of like want me to get across. And quite a lot of the time the brands that I work with give me a lot of creative control, so I can sort of like say whatever I want, as long as like the main sort of messages are like given across. And then then I send over that content to the brand through my manager, and then they approve it, and then I can post it whenever they want, whether it's a specific day or it's on the day that I send it over. And yeah, so that's the sort of like basic protocol. It sort of differs from brand to brand, but that's the main sort of protocol for.
I find it really interesting to hear about, and I think it's also such a good way of marketing. Like like, you know, like TV adverts, like you don't pay much attention to them now, but if like an influencer does promote a product, you're like, okay, yeah, like that's a real person who's interested in that. So
Yeah, I do think it is so interesting as well, because the influencers have like the target audience for certain brands, whereas like TV, they're just paying for it to go out to like anyone, whereas like if they're paying like an influencer to who is like a food account to promote their new like baking recipe, like that people are going, they're going to have that exact target audience there. So I think it is very clever, and like I feel like it is a very ever growing thing in influencer marketing, and I think more brands are seeing that it is paying off. So yeah, I do think it is cool.
definitely. Okay, so we've said about consistency a few times. So um if you just want to explain sort of what it is and how it came about, and also what it's like being like co-founding a business with someone else.
Yeah, so me and Carrie, my best friend, we had been talking about this for a long time, like creating a brand together from something that we were both like passionate and driven about, and consistency sort of came at the right time, really. We had been writing a book, and we'd also been talking about presets prior to lockdown, and then lockdown sort of came and it sort of pushed the launch forward so we could put it out there, because we had way more time to like work on it, which was absolutely amazing. And it sort of was like a little miracle in some ways that we could push everything forward, and it sort of gave a bit of a positive light to lockdown for us at the beginning. And yeah, so that they were our first launches. Like we wrote a book all about it's called Rise and Grind, a beginner's guide to Instagram growth, and it sort of like goes through that whole beginning process of starting a profile and how you can start to like build a platform, and like the best strategies that you can use to like sort of build that, grow it, create a positive community, and like build a strong community with you and your followers and your audience. And then sort of goes onto that brand side of things, like pitching to brands, contracts, charging, and all that sort of stuff. So that like book literally includes everything, and we've literally just rewritten sections of it and expanded that book because Instagram's constantly updating. So that is like our sort of like main prize product, I guess. And then we have our presets, which we've launched a variety throughout summer, some autumn ones, just throughout the seasons, depending on whatever the person's style is. And yeah, so that came about in April, and it's been such a like a fun experience, like co-founding something with my best friend. I feel like we both spur each other on, and we have ideas that like knock off each other, and it just sort of keeps us motivated to like keep going. And yeah, it's just amazing. But yeah, overall it is essentially just a digital brand and social media growth platform that we want to like sort of inspire other women to achieve their like social media goals. Like if they want to make a career out of it, we want to help people. And we also have our like services that launched a couple of months ago to help people sort of push again their Instagram platforms.
I think it's such a good idea, because I feel like it can be a bit like secretive, like the influencer.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they post pictures on Instagram, but like what does it really entail? But and for people who want to get into it, who just like who didn't like do it by chance sort of thing, I think that's such a good idea. So
yeah we thought it was a nice thing, because one of our most asked questions whenever we like ask on Instagram, or just even on regular videos, people would ask like, how did you grow your platforms? And we thought it would just be a nice way to sort of break the ice and break them boundaries that you said like are very secretive, and just let people in and literally talk about the whole process, like from when you first start an account and what you need to do, to like all these things that you can help push your platform to more people. And then also the brand side of things as well, which I think is quite nice. And yeah, that just sort of breaks that barrier.
So do you have any tips for people who are wanting to grow on social media?
So I think probably one of the main things me and Carrie talk about with people who get in contact with us is about your niche. So probably having like a specific niche is like one of the probably main ways that your platform can get pushed out, which I think helped me in having that like mid-size body positive like content, was how sort of like my photos got reached so many people. So having a niche is probably like a strong point to start with, and using hashtags that like correspond to your niche are great, because it's going to reach people who are also interested in that sort of content, and you're probably going to attract those sort of accounts. So I'd say make sure you look into hashtags more. We have like a whole section on hashtags in our book, and yeah, just finding the right hashtags that are going to benefit your page, and making sure that you're maximizing and using all 30 of those every single post and 10 per story. It's going to be really helpful in reaching those accounts.
I've never really thought about hashtags before. Like, obviously, like I'm using Instagram in that way at the moment, but I can see that it would be really helpful.
Mm-hmm. It is the best way to maximize your reach.
So the last thing, like, to do with social media is that you recently announced about your podcast. So I don't know how much you're going to want to say, because obviously it is like a brand new announcement, but yeah, just...
Yeah, so me, Carrie again, Amy, Ellie and Harriet just decided to launch a new podcast. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now, and we just sort of wanted to get the ball rolling. It's called From the Drafts, and we're going to be again sort of on the social media side, like breaking down those taboos and those walls that influencers or YouTubers have with like their audience, and talking about all the stuff behind the scenes of social media, brand deals. And then we're also going to be talking about other topics like taboos and that sort of thing that we all sort of cover on our platforms, like from like relationships, periods, sex, contraception. Like we're going to probably delve into like a lot of that, because all of us have so many different experiences and things we can share with everyone. So hopefully it can be a lovely sort of like podcast to take people's minds off the pandemic and anything that they're personally going through. Yeah,
it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the final question is something that I ask everyone, and that is, what is the best advice that you've ever been given?
Oh, okay. So I think it's sort of, I don't know if it's any advice I've been given. It's more like when I've been like scrolling through Pinterest and I like quotes, and like my favorite quote that I've sort of like put on my social media before is talk to yourself like someone you love. And that's like my favorite quote, because I think you would never like walk into like your front room and say to your mum, oh, your stretch marks are really like quite visible today, or like you wouldn't go in to call your best friend fat and ugly. Like, so why are you saying those things to yourself? Because you're like the most important person in your life. And I just think we all are very negative and horrible towards ourselves, when we're like, we should be number one and we should be the person we respect the most. So talking to ourselves like someone we love is like my best advice that I've sort of like found online, and something that I like sort of is my own sort of mantra in a way. So
yeah, I feel like I haven't really heard that much, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah,
it is so simple in a way. Like it's just like a few words, but they just sort of like really hit me when I read them, and it's just sort of like became something that I always think now if I'm being like really negative towards myself. So yeah.
Well, that's all the questions that we have for today. I really enjoyed talking to you. It's been really interesting. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.